Street and Lower Manhattan are located on the East Coast of the United States in the Mid-Atlantic region within the borough of Manhattan in New York City. The area is located on the southern tip of the island of Manhattan and is characterized by large modern skyscrapers mixed with historic and colonial buildings. Parking in the area can be difficult to nearly impossible, so the best way to get to Wall Street and Lower Manhattan is by walking, a cab, or the several subway lines that traverse the area. These include, but are not limited to, the R, 2, 3, 6, A, C, J, and Z trains. If you must drive, the best time to go is the weekend, as the area is significantly less busy.
Hey everyone, so where we are today is Wall Street, so the iconic New York City Wall Street. Now, Wall Street is interesting because it is the oldest part of New York City. So you're going to kind of see that just from walking around, and though a lot of the original buildings are not left, there are some and we're going to see them, a lot of the original colonial buildings are not left. However, the street design is very organic, right? So it is not broad avenues, as you can see behind me. It's more characteristic of like a London or a Boston. So you have very small streets because these streets were not built for cars, right? They were built for pedestrians and horses. So you're gonna see that when you're here. You're not gonna see the broad avenues like you do in Midtown. You're gonna see almost alley-like streets amongst a canyon of buildings. So where does Wall Street get its name from? Well, believe it or not, even though this is pretty much the furthest southernmost tip of Manhattan, this at one point in the colonial period was the northern border of the colony of New York. So there was a wall built along this street, hence the name Wall Street. So, you know, in the old days, when defenses were high, especially with Native American populations coming into the colonized populations, they built walls to protect themselves. So there was actually a wall along all of here, and this was the northernmost street. So that's where the name comes from. How did Wall Street become Wall Street? Well, the word Wall Street in the present day is basically a metonym for the American financial markets, right? So this is really the center of finance in the United States, in New York City, and in the world, right? So the term Wall Street kind of has just came to mean finance. So some of the biggest financial corporations in New York City and in the United States and in the world are located here on Wall Street. So that's where it gets its reputation from. So if you ever saw like the movie Wall Street from the 80s or the movie Wolf of Wall Street, it kind of has its biggest glory in the 1980s. And that was because a lot of people got into finance and made a lot of money here on Wall Street during that time, particularly with bonds. So it's not so much that feel anymore. It feels a little bit more professional, you know. It's not with the drugs and the craziness and the flamboyance of the 1980s, but you're still gonna get financial professionals here. Some of the most high-income earners in New York City work in Wall Street, and they live in Manhattan or near Manhattan, right? So you're gonna see those people walking around. We're here on a Saturday, so you're gonna see mostly tourists, and I advise you come on Saturday if you want it to be a little bit more quiet, but if you want to see the real kind of heartbeat of Wall Street, I recommend coming during the week because you're going to see the actual finance workers and professionals around here. And even not in finance, Lower Manhattan in general is a big center of employment for New Yorkers. It is one of the two major central business districts in New York City, so there are a lot of companies here, there are a lot of firms here, and a lot of people work around here. So there are two very, very important buildings on the same corner here at the intersection of Wall Street and Broad Street, and that is Federal Hall. So Federal Hall is New York City's first city hall. It's a very important building, and it is actually the place of the inauguration of the first president, George Washington, of the United States. So our first leader after the Revolutionary War became the president right on these steps. So it really is an important piece of American history. Next, right kitty corner across the street is the New York City Stock Exchange. So the New York City Stock Exchange is the place where you see them, going, basically fighting for prices for different kinds of commodities, different kinds of stocks. So you could actually take a tour of both. I recommend doing that if you have the time. Otherwise, if you're just outside of it, it's pretty cool just to see the outside of it. But in the more modern times, people trade more online, but it definitely still exists, and the bargaining and the negotiation still exists and goes on here. So you could definitely take a look at that if you're here, especially if you're interested in the financial markets. This is the place to go. So take a look. Okay, another important thing you have to see when you're here by Wall Street is Trinity Church. So Trinity Church, actually, the existing building is the third building on the property. So the church was founded actually in 1694 by King William III of England, when this was in America and this was a colony of England. There was another church building built in the 1770s, and it was destroyed by a great fire here in New York City. The current structure was built in 1830, and it's served as the tallest structure in New York City until 1890. And it actually still has masses. It's an Episcopal church. You can go to the masses there, and there are a lot of famous New Yorkers buried in its burial ground, including Alexander Hamilton. Okay, so we just walked a couple blocks away. If you come out of Trinity Church, you just make a right, or you go southbound, right? And you go a couple blocks, and what we're gonna see next is the Charging Bull and the Fearless Girl. The Charging Bull is a statue that represents the power of Wall Street, the dominance and all, right? The bull. It also represents a bull market, which, if you don't know, means a successful growing market. So when you get to the sculpture, you usually have to wait in a line for a little bit, because it is one of the most famous sculptures in New York City and in the United States. So you wait for like a small line, and then you can go up and take a picture of it or whatever you want to do. So we're gonna take a picture of Charging Bull, and then we're gonna see Fearless Girl. Fearless Girl was erected in more recent years, in the last 5 to 10 years. And Fearless Girl represents, the feminine energy and females standing up to Wall Street and the traditional idea that males are in finance and males are in the money and things like that. So you have two very differing ideas and different timelines right next to each other. So it's pretty cool to see. Go to one, take a picture of one, and then contrast it with the exact opposite, right? So take a look now.
I can take it, I can take it, I can take your pain away from you, from you.
So directly adjacent to Charging Bull is Bowling Green Park. So Bowling Green Park is famous for two things. First, it is the oldest park in New York City. Like I said, we've been moving more south from Wall Street, so we are at the very beginning of New York City, the colony of New York. So this is the first park. Also, this is, according to tradition, the site of where the island of Manhattan was sold to the Dutch for a total of $24 in trinkets, right? So $24 barely gets you a drink in a bar nowadays in Manhattan. So what an incredible investment, may I say. But it all happened here, so take a look. So remember how I mentioned before that we are in the oldest part of New York and Manhattan, but many of the original buildings not remain? That's true. So many of the original buildings were wood, and they're from the 16th and 17th century, 16th, 17th, and 18th century. So most of them have been replaced by more modern structures, most that have been built in the 20th and now 21st centuries. So there are a couple places where you can still see some of the original buildings of the colonies here in New York. We're gonna go past one. It's actually a working tavern. You can go there, you can eat, you can drink. It's called Fraunces Tavern. George Washington actually went there. And we're gonna go through another area that maintains its original building. So let's head over. If you're looking for nightlife in Lower Manhattan and Wall Street, you gotta check out Stone Street. Now, we're here on a Saturday, so it's probably not gonna be busy at all, but if you come here for happy hour during the week, so if you come at like between 4 to 6, 7 really, especially in the summer and the warmer months, you are going to see a ton of people out here. It's the Wall Street financial after work crowd, but it's fun. They basically closed down this is one of the oldest streets in New York. It's called Stone Street. So all the buildings next to it are original, and it's all bars. So take a look at that now. So we are now getting further south in Lower Manhattan, right? So this area that we're getting to now is actually part original and part landfill. So we're gonna go to the Staten Island Ferry, which is an interesting alternative, right, if you want to see the Statue of Liberty. So what it is, it's a commuter ferry line that takes people from Manhattan to Staten Island, right? That's one of New York City's 5 boroughs, and it's free. But what is a good secret about it is an excellent place to see the Statue of Liberty. So if you don't want to go and pay for the Statue of Liberty ticket and go through the line and go through the security, all that, you just really want to see the statue and you don't want to like go onto Liberty Island and all of that, this is a good alternative. It's free, takes about 20 minutes to cross and 20 minutes back. It's completely free. So I would do that if you're not interested in the whole to do with the Statue of Liberty. So we're gonna see that, and then we're also gonna see Battery Park. Now, if you're coming to see the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, you're going to get your boat at Battery Park. So Battery Park is the southernmost point in Manhattan. Most of it is landfill. It is not part of the original geography of Manhattan. But it's a beautiful park. We're here in the wintertime, so it's not going to be as lively. But if you come here on a really nice day, there's a ton of kids, and there's a lot of performers, and there's a lot of cool stuff for tourists and New Yorkers alike. So check that out. There you have it, guys. This is Wall Street in Lower Manhattan. So I showed you most of the meat of everything, but there is a lot of other stuff in this area. So the 9/11 Memorial is not too far away. We have a video on that. Make sure you check that out. Also, right now where we are is right next to where you would get on the ferry for the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island. We don't have a video on that. We're gonna wait till it's a little warmer, and then we're gonna take a video on that. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Also, not too far from here is the South Street Seaport, and we're also gonna do that when it's warmer out because it's more lively and more interesting then. So Lower Manhattan has a lot for you to see. There is a lot of interesting stuff here: landmarks, history, modern, new, and I really suggest that you take a look at this area when you're here in New York City. Guys, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. I try to answer all the questions I have. Like this video, share this video. Like I said, subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the link below. We have a bunch of cool stuff about Wall Street and Lower Manhattan that you can purchase. So take a look, guys. Until next time, take care. Bye.